Hey guys, this is Grant Chachere of Gridiron Football here with my co-host Jace LeJeune on another episode of Protect the Boot. We just had a pretty hectic weekend of high school football across the state. A lot of upsets, a lot of shocking results too. Not even just upsets, just shocking results. Just huge blowouts in games we thought were going to be closer. Jace, what are your thoughts about this past weekend?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think I talked to you a little bit earlier about this, Grant, but I don't remember, he's covering this long in high school football. I don't remember this early in the playoff brackets that we've seen really a lot of upsets, as much upsets as we've seen so far this early in the playoffs. And we got a lot of low digit seed teams we're going to talk about on the show that are still in here. They're kind of like the road warriors. There are some teams that have gone on the road twice and maybe three times. So it doesn't really matter in the playoffs. As far as home field advantage is concerned, and there's a lot of teams that feel comfortable on the road, and they want to embrace that underdog mentality. So those are some things that I've seen so far that's really impressed me. And I know you alluded to Grant when we talked a little bit before, but I'm just really impressed how evenly matched really these teams are. So let's just say a number 8 seed plays like a number 25 seed or something like that. Those two teams are much more evenly matched than really they are on paper. So it just shows you really the depth in high school football and how much better it is, a product is from really top to bottom. So that's what really stood out to me this past weekend.
Yeah, I think this is kind of, it's one of those years where I think, well, just the next few years, like I've said this before on this podcast, I mean, there's a huge crop of talent around this state, no matter where it's at. And I think this is probably, we're entering kind of a new golden age in terms of Louisiana football because usually Louisiana's always had talent, right? Wide receivers, DBs, linebackers, you name it. But now you're starting to see more quarterbacks, which is something that Louisiana really hasn't produced as quarterbacks. And then also offensive linemen. You're seeing a lot of great offensive linemen as well. So
Hmm.
you're starting to see, you're starting to see talent at every single position across the state. Like we just had the number one kicker in the country this year, in Aaron Burrow, who's committed
Yeah,
to
LSU.
LSU. So you're seeing a huge crop of talent grow in each and every single pocket of this state, which I'm really excited about. But let's move on to some. Let's move on to look at all the scores from all the brackets. Quickly go through it and maybe discuss a little bit game by game. So starting off with Division One non-select, you had Ruston edging out a victory over the 16th seed Westgate, a game we will talk about later. Walker defeated North Shore. They went to North Shore and they beat North Shore pretty good. So it's a huge victory for Chad Mahaffey and Walker High School. Mandeville ran all over San Amon. This is a very dangerous team. And I wouldn't be shocked if they upset Airline next week. Even though I think Airline should win that game, that's another game you need to watch out for in terms of the upset alert.
Hmm.
Um, Airline eked out a 36-35 win over Southside. We will talk about that later. Destran beat Belchase 31-10. Zachary defeated Salmon 49-28. They will play each other next weekend in the
Oh yeah.
quarterfinals. Dutchtown destroyed Chalmette 48-7,
Hmm.
and they will play Central, who
Yeah.
upset Neville last weekend. We will talk about that game later on too. Moving on to Division Two non-select, North DeSoto defeated DeRidder 63-21. They will play Iowa, who defeated Plaquemine 36-19. Opelousas defeated Westville. They will play Lutcher next week, the defending Division Two non-select state champions. That should be a good one, Jace. Assumption defeated Bro Bridge 43-21. They will play Northwest, who
Yeah.
has defeated Parrish and Wasserman in back-to-back weekend. So a very
Hmm.
impressive run for that squad. Uh, Jennings defeated. They eked out a win over St. Martinville, 25-23. They will play a Sicily team that just put up 70 points over Iota. Uh, Next week in Division Three non-select, Gina defeated Caldwell Parish 46-7. They will play a very dangerous Amy team in the quarterfinals, and Amy just beat Joel Sumner, who Joel Sumner actually beat them in the regular season. So it's a huge revenge win for the Indians. Is it the Indians or Warriors?
Oh, what team? I'm sorry. It was something in the background. Grant.
Amy, yeah,
Yeah,
again,
Warriors,
Amy.
Warriors, Warriors.
Warriors. I was making sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Bogalusa defeated Lorville 28-7. They will play Union Parish in the next round. Union Parish defeated Port Allen 35-6. St. James defeated North Webster 42-12. They will play Manny, who is the defending Division III non-select champion, and Manny defeated South Clackamas 45-0. That should be a pretty good one. Pine defeated Avoyelles 28-6. They will play the second seed Sterlington, who defeated Mansfield 35-15. Next, we have Division IV non-select. Logansport defeated Franklin 64-12. They will play Welsh, who, I mean, this is a result for me, Jace.
Yeah.
Welsh defeated White Castle 54-18. I don't think anybody really saw that coming, man.
Yeah, there's no Iberville Parish team still up in the playoffs. White Castle is pretty much in Plaquemine. So those are pretty much the only two hopes there. So no Iberville Parish team still left.
Right. Yeah. And then Generic defeated Eastville 20-20. They will play Haynesville, who defeated General Trash 48-22 in the quarterfinals next weekend. Oak Grove defeated Lake Arthur 49-20. They will play Mangum, who defeated Centerville 53-14. That's another big time quarterfinals matchup. And Homer eked out a win over Oakdale, which is a game that kind of was on everyone's radar.
Yeah,
because a lot of people thought that Oakdale could defeat Homer because they have a lot of athletes on their team. And then Homer will play Kenwood next weekend, which is also another big time matchup between two state powers. Kenwood defeated Faraday 46-8. All right, that's it for the non-select brackets.
Yep.
For the select brackets, Holy Cross defeated Jesuit 42-0, and a rematch of the regular season one where Holy Cross, I think they shut them on that game too. So they shut them.
It was both times. It was both times.
So 72-0.
Combined
72-0. Combined score. So that's a pretty incredible for Holy Cross, considering the fact that they've lost 4 or 5 straight to Jesuits. So what a season for Holy Cross. They will play Acadiana, who defeated Karen Crow 14-7. You were at that game. We'll talk about that game later. The recap. That should be a great quarterfinals matchup. I mean, either one of those teams could go to the Dome. Edna Carr defeated Woodlawn 50-0. Carl played Alexandria, who defeated Brother Martin 23-0. I think that was another result that kind of shocked a lot of people.
Yeah,
people weren't shocked that shocked that Alexandria beat Brother Martin, because that was a bad matchup for Brother Martin. It was just how they did it. So that should be a good one. Although I think Carr will win that game, that should be a good one. Catholic defeated John Eric 45-9. They will have a big time matchup against John Curtis next weekend in Baton Rouge. That by far will probably be the biggest matchup in Baton Rouge, because there aren't really many teams left. So and really might be the only game in Baton Rouge. Maybe.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
I gotta go double check that.
Maybe
but there's not many of them left.
There might be one more. Well, yeah, I think that's it. Because Dutchtown and Central.
Yeah.
That's the only other one. But I mean, other than that, it's not much. But not many.
There's only a couple of teams left. I mean, U High, Parkview, Episcopal.
Right.
Zachary.
Exactly. There aren't many left. Yeah, there might only be one by semifinal time. You don't know what's going to happen. So then you have two, because Catholic Central and Dutchtown are both in the Baton Rouge area.
Right. So and Walker. Yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, Walker, yep. Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's not really much. And UHA, of course. UHA should win this weekend. So I mean, there ain't many teams to pick for Baton Rouge to cover.
Yeah,
It's kind of shocking how weak Baton Rouge has been this year, but it is what it is. It's sports, man. You don't know.
Yeah, or just if you look at maybe just how good overall the state is. I mean, I think that's pretty much what my takeaway really is about that.
Right, exactly. Curtis, they defeated St. Aug. Of course, we just mentioned they will play Catholic. St. Paul's defeated Tioga 38-14. They will play Archbishop Rummel, who it was kind of a shocking result, but a lot of people actually picked Shreve to win this game over Captain Shreve. They defeated Captain Shreve 13-3, of course.
Yeah, Rummel could beat Shreve, right.
They will play Archbishop Rummel Archbishop Rome will play St. Paul's and Covington
Be an
this
interesting
weekend.
game.
Yeah, that's another. I mean,
game.
there's a lot. All these matches are pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, there's not really one bet. Well, this one I'm about to mention actually might be the worst one. St. Thomas More defeated Astroma 57-14. They will play this St. Michael the Archangel Warriors. That might be the worst one, unfortunately, because St. Michael. Oh, by the way, congratulations, St. Michael. They won their first ever playoff win in this program's history. Unfortunately, they have to go up against the juggernaut in St. Thomas More.
That's their prize.
So good luck. Yeah, good luck to Coach Leje and the boys, man. That's tough. Oof. But yeah, Archbishop Shaw defeated Evangel Christian 20-13. That was a very close game. We'll actually talk about that later on. They will play JFK, who defeated Vanderbilt Catholic 46-6. That should be a big time matchup in New Orleans, Jace. Lafayette Christian defeated Peabody 54-20. They will play McDonough 35, who defeated St. Louis Catholic 53-23. That was another shocking result as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. By margin. That's
right. Yeah, by margin. Yeah. Turner's Catholic defeated Master Prep 31-30. That was a really close one, Jace.
Oh, yeah.
And then they will play.
Not surprised by that one.
Oh yeah,
how close it
and
was.
They will yeah. And they will, and then Turner's Catholic will play Edie White, the second seed Edie White, who squeaked out a win against not a so great De La Salle team. I think that was another shocker result as well. So that would be a very interesting matchup next week. Moving on to Division III select, probably one of the more stacked brackets in this.
Oh yes,
in this playoffs. St. Charles Catholic defeated Sets Episcopal 43-0. They will play Notre Dame. They defeated Darwin Woods 49-7. That should be an interesting matchup.
Oh yeah, that's some good coaching right there.
Oh yeah, Catholic New Iberia. Well, Lake Charles College Prep defeated Catholic New Iberia 7-3. They will play U High, who defeated Patrick Taylor 62-6. Lake Charles is probably one of the newer programs in the state, but they have a lot of talent, and it moved on to the quarterfinals. So that's another program you should watch out for in the future. I don't expect them to be U High, but I'm just talking about in the future. You need to watch out for them.
Yeah, I actually called this when we did our show, Grant, but I have them making a pretty good run. So right now they're in the third round. So being a 21 seed, I mean, they made a pretty good run. Yeah,
and moving on, Newman defeated St. Thomas Aquinas 45-0. They will play Episcopal, who went up to Bunkie, and they beat Bunkie 38-14.
Yeah.
Parkview squeaked out another win over Dunham. Those are two great teams. One of them had to win. And two of them are really the sleepers on this bracket, so they can make a lot of noise. But they will play Calvary Baptist, who I think is the most talented team in the state outside of U High. And Calvary Baptist defeated Holy Savior Menard 49-0. Moving on to the very last bracket we're going to cover is the Division IV Select Playoffs. Vermilion Catholic defeated Delhi Charter 48-12. They will play Cedric Catholic, who absolutely blew out Opelousas Catholic. We'll talk about that later. It's not a basketball score. We will talk about that later. Riverside defeated Catholic Prep 14-12. That was a pretty close one, Jace. Riverside was on upset alert in that game, like a lot of people suspected, because Catholic Point is actually a pretty good program. So I wasn't shocked that game ended up being pretty close. St. Martin's Episcopal defeated Covenant Christian 40-27. They will have a rematch. They will have a chance to revenge their humiliating loss to Riverside this season. That should watch out for that one. That should be a really good matchup. Washita Christian defeated Westminster Christian 56-7. They will play St. Mary's team, who is a very dangerous team, by the way, out of Natchitoches. And St. Mary's defeated Glenbrook 30-27. Central Catholic defeated St. Patrick 6-2.
How about that score?
Oh yeah, man, that's like some 2008 Auburn versus Mississippi State type stuff, man.
3-2.
That's like Iowa playing against Auburn this year, man. That's like a Big Ten West score, or like Iowa versus Auburn. Like, just put the two worst offenses together. That's your game, man.
Baseball score for you.
Yeah. awesome for the defensive coordinators, but not so great for
Oh
the
yeah.
offensive coordinators.
No.
Yeah. And then Southern Lab defeated. They will play Southern Lab, and Southern Lab defeated Hanson Memorial 47-27. That's it for our playoff school board, I guess you could say. A
Yeah.
little miniature playoff school board. But we're going to move on to the games this weekend. First,
Sure.
we're going to start with Karen Crow and Acadiana, 14-7. Chase, you're going to take the floor with this one because you were the one there. I wasn't. So you
Yeah.
had the whole scoop.
Yeah, it was a rematch of a game earlier, just really a couple of weeks ago. These two teams played recently, and Acadia got the better of it, won by a point in the first matchup. And they play again. And using the old mantra, it's hard to be a really good team twice, and that's what Acadia had to do. And especially two teams that have a lot of state championship aspirations, and two of the biggest heated rivals across the state as well, going against each other. So it was a lot on the line. It was packed. I mean, everybody was on the sideline. Kevin Falk was there on the sidelines too for Karen Crow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First half, it was a low scoring game. I mean, it was a low scoring game throughout, but really shocked me that the whole really not much action. There was a couple turnovers on downs, but really not really both defenses doing an excellent job in the first half. Karen Crow was able to finally get a good drive going, and they punched it in for a touchdown to go up with about 5 seconds left before half. So it happened right before halftime, go up 7-0. But in the second half, like you gotta get credit to KDN's defense. They pretty much dominated this game. If you hold that offense for Karen Crow when they have Chance Babineau, Cashmere Baptiste, all those weapons on offense, only 7 points. They did not score in the second half. And then KDN was able to run the football, not as effective on the ground throughout the game. But what was really the difference was that KDN actually made plays for the passing game. So Caden DeBetta connected with his brother Colin the better. And Grant, he's only a freshman. He's only a ninth grader. And this kid
Yeah.
is going to be really good. So watch out for Colin the better. Them connecting, that brother connection, really put Acadiana over the top on this game. And I did not expect that. I mean, I didn't expect that to be up. If it was up to both quarterbacks and throwing the football, you would think Karen Crow would have had the edge. But in this game, Acadiana won the game, and that made a difference because of their passing game. So that made a big difference. Indiana, they just found a way to win by playing Indiana football. A lot of times it's just really playing keep away from Karen Crow's offense, which they did, but they did a great job of containing Chance Babineau from not making a big play, whether it's deep downfield with his arm or with his legs. And they played a low scoring, grounded out type of game. And obviously, Karen Crow wants to be a fast pace, up tempo. They want to win it by winning in a shootout. And so Acadiana, the style of play, it favored them. And eventually that's how the Wrecking Rams were able to get the job done.
Yeah, like I said, it didn't shock me that they won this game at all. Just because I think Acadiana has just been really hot. Ever since they beat Karen Crow the first time, you got that sense that okay, this team's kind of finally starting. Well, actually, before that, I mean, yeah, I think it was the same Houston game where they kind of showed okay, we're still the same Acadiana. We just got to figure everything out. And they still lost the game to John Curtis during that stretch, but that's a John Curtis team that is red hot right now. So yeah, but take away the John Curtis loss, they've been hot, and they beat a very good Karen Crow team. They beat a very good Southside team. So this is Acadiana is a team that is really on a roll right now. And it also doesn't shock me that Caden DeBetta to Colin DeBetta, the
Yeah.
brothers,
Yeah.
they like the last Karen Crow game, they got the older DeBetta through the younger DeBetta for the game-winning touchdown. It doesn't shock me that they found that connection again this game because it seems to be working, and also throwing the ball. Period. That's how KD was able to defeat Karen Crow the last time. So yeah, just not. I wasn't really shocked by what happened. I mean, I kind of knew what was going to happen. I think
Yeah.
if you've been following Acadian and Karen Crow the last few years, you kind of know that game's always just going to be
Oh, yeah.
two heavyweight brawlers just going at it. It's not like LC and STM where you have prime Floyd Mayweather and prime Manny Pacquiao. It's just straight up Karen Katie Annis literally just straight up Muhammad Ali versus George Frazier. That's
Yeah,
what that matchup is.
yeah, it was. And people might say 14-7, it must have been a really sloppy game. It really wasn't. I mean,
No.
both defenses were well coached and they were just in, I mean, really good position, a lot of really good players on both sides of the field. It was a good football game. So people might say it was a sloppy game, low scoring, but it was a well played and well officiated game throughout.
Yeah. Moving on to our next game, and I think this is a game that shocked a lot of people. But if you've really been following both teams, or even just Central,
Uh-huh.
you had a good feeling that this game was going to be on your upset watch list.
We were talking about it a
Central,
whole lot last week. I mean, both you and I about how
yep,
this could definitely be an upset game if Neville wasn't careful, and we saw what
yeah,
happened.
we talked a lot about with Clay Parker, and Clay
Yep.
agreed with us, man. Like you can
Yeah.
see, because that Central team, they're not an 18 seed. They're really more of like a ninth or 10th seed. The only where they're 18 seed is if you look at the first game of the year, they lost against a pretty bad De La Salle team, but then they
Mm.
figured it out. And they really had two close games with Zachary and the Catholic. And really, the Zachary game, you could make a case that they probably should have won that game. But let's move on to let's talk about the game itself instead of just
Hmm.
the teams.
Right.
Central defeated Neville 17-16. Central obviously is the 18th seed, and Neville is the second seed. Usually we see those matchups like, oh yeah, the second seed should destroy the 18th seed. But if you
Hmm.
really look at the Central team and who they have on their team, including DK Mays, who is
He's a beast.
one of the quickest risers in the recruiting
Yeah.
rankings
Hmm.
right now. And so actually, and the crazy thing is too, Neville was actually up 16-0.
They were.
But then
Yeah.
Central scored 17 unanswered points to win the game. It started with a 60-yard touchdown pass from Jackson Furman to Keithan Womack that was Central's first touchdown. Then they went for two. They went for two because they've been having a lot of special teams issues, and that
Hmm.
was probably a biggest storyline about Central coming in this game was how were the special teams going to perform. Well, they kind of figured that out with the 2-point conversion. They were able to convert when blockers scored from 3 yards out.
Hmm.
Then they're on to kick a field goal to be down by only 5 points, but then they had to put up a long drive together in the third quarter, and Damon Blocker scored the game-winning touchdown. And then from then on, Central just really shut down Neville's offense. And it was the first time since 1993 that Neville, when it came into the playoffs, and did not come out with a single victory. So
That's amazing.
shout out to Coach Simno and Central High School. He's done a fantastic job. We've always talked about Coach of the Year. We talked about the Coach of the Year a bunch with, of course, ours would probably be over there,
Coach Watney. Yep.
Scott Wani, and then also we mentioned Terrence Kehi up at Waspin.
Yeah.
But I think David Simino, as accomplished as he's been his whole
Hmm.
entire his young career, because he's still young,
Yeah. He's
relatively,
still a young guy. Yeah.
he's really turned around this Central team. Central was 3-7 last year. Now they turn around and they could make the dome, and I'm not even
Yeah.
joking because they have the team to do it. So, what did you take away from this game? What does it mean for Central moving forward? Not only this year, but just the program in general, because that's such a huge statement win. Last week they had a huge statement win, but this was the statement win.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody was pretty much, I mean, not surprised, even though technically East St. John was a higher seed. Central was, I mean, it was just a bad matchup for East St. John on paper, and it took advantage of it, right? And you go back and look at Neville, and we talked a whole about it last week, right? Neville having a bye and how much that can really make an impact too. And it had a couple weeks off as well. So but the weird thing about this game, Grant, was that Neville wasn't rusty early on. They jumped out 16-0
Yeah.
on Central, and you thought, okay, you look at the score, and it's like, well, there goes the upset. I mean, looks like it's not going to happen. But what really impressed me the most was the resiliency by Central. You'd be down 16-0 and find a way to get back in that game. You talk about Jackson Furman. Jackson Furman, he didn't do much last week against East St. John, but he made the play that really sparked this team. So that's what I really like about the Central team is this is a balanced team, right? They can run the football when they need to. Jackson Furman's a really good quarterback. They can throw it when they need to. And you got those two defensive ends and George and Mays that can close a game out for you when they're ahead late in games. So this is a very balanced team. And like you mentioned, this would not shock me if they do, in fact, make the dome. So even if they don't, if you in year one, what Coach David Semino is doing right now, that this is going to make really not only, I guess, like the high school and like players want to come out and play for Coach Semino, but it's going to make the school community, the Central community, want to come out and support these Wildcats even more. Central's always been a sleeping giant, and I think David Semino's is really waking these guys up.
And the thing about Central, they've been, kind of similar to Holy Cross. They've always been kind of the sleepy giant of Baton Rouge. It's just that for some reason they could really never get over the hump. And remember, they hired,
It's
I
Sid
mean,
Edwards for a
Sid
long
Edwards.
time,
Yeah,
and
Sid Edwards. Yeah,
yeah,
very successful head coach of Redemptors.
yeah,
Really built that program to becoming a power in the state. But they were never able to really go off the hump. I mean, they only went to the quarterfinals once, and that was 2013. That was the
yeah,
last time Central. Let me see. Yeah, I think it was 2013 was the last time I saw something. Yeah, it was 2013 was the last time they went to the
yeah,
quarterfinals. So it's been over 10 years
yeah.
that they've never got past the second round. So what an accomplishment for the Central program, and that's a team you should be really looking out for in the Baton Rouge area.
And the fact that they've been doing on the road too, Grant. I mean, two back-to-back road
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
That makes it even more incredible. And they're gonna have to do it again when they go to Dutchtown. So being
But
the road
that's not really
warriors.
a. But I mean, yeah, you say that's on the road, but it's not like you're traveling to the River Parishes, right, like Brighton Reserve, or you're going up north to Neville to play. I mean, it's
Oh,
still in
they've
Baton
done the
Rouge.
hard trips
So
already.
I mean,
But
they've already. I mean, that's. I mean, it's a road game, yes, but it's a little easier trip, and that matters when it comes to playoff time because of fatigue and how does the team respond coming off the bus after such a
mhm,
long trip. So
right.
yeah, that was a great game. Moving on to another game that shocked a lot of people, not because it was an upset, because of the result. And before we say anything, so Opelousas Catholic, they have
Yeah.
a prolific offense led by Mark Collins,
Hmm.
who will be playing at UL as a baseball player, not a football
Right.
player. But that just
Right.
shows you what type of athlete he is. He was 7 for 9, and had 267 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Vikings scored 43 points. And you would think, oh, they probably won that game, right? Central Catholic scored 77 points.
Yeah.
Uh,
70.
uh,
Tell them
yeah.
why. Tell them why they scored 77 points, Grant.
Well, we're gonna get to that. Chad Elzy, the state's leading rusher, probably the biggest sleeper in the state of Louisiana right now.
Oh, absolutely.
In the class of 2025,
Hmm.
he had 27 carries for 461 yards and 9 touchdowns. And then Marcus Gant, who was the secondary running back, 4 carries for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. They just
Yeah.
basically just ran the ball. I mean, that's over 550 yards of rushing. I mean, that's
Unbelievable.
insane. And to calculate how many yards per carry that both these running backs had,
Like 50.
Chad Elzy Chad Elzy had 17 yards per carry,
Yeah, it seems like.
and DeMarcus Gant had 22.75 yards per carry. So, yeah, that's not a way to go out. That's not a way to have. That's not for Opelousas Catholics. That's not the way you want to end your season. But that says a
Yeah.
lot about how much talent this is such a Catholic has, and I think they're one of the reasons why I have them being this. That's why they're one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why they're the biggest sleeper in this bracket. So, Jace, take it away. I mean, I'm speechless, man.
Do you know what this reminds me a little bit? And obviously they make the state championship. This could make a capper off that. But this reminds me a lot when Puka Williams went off for
Mhm.
Hanville and just really put the team on his back and they went all the way to state championship. Now, Hanville was a little bit more of an underdog probably than Ascension Catholic is. But this could be the type of run we see from because you always seen it, and every year there's that one player that just really carries his team. And I mean, Chad Elsley, this kid is special. Got a chance to see him this year in the Jamboree, and in the first play, Grant, first play of the season, he takes a kickoff return for a touchdown. And that really set the tone for the season for him this year. And he just skyrocketed up with the numbers he's been able to put up. Now, Ascension Catholic's got a really good offensive line that's been really clearing the pass for him. But this kid is special. And he's kind of got that like Alvin Kamara type ability where he's breaking tackles. He's just slippery and he's just so smooth running the football. It's not like it doesn't look like he's running full speed, but he is. So it's really special to really watch him play. And if you haven't, if you're a college recruiter that's looking for a kid, I still don't get why he hasn't been offered yet. It just blows my mind. But this kid is special, and another running back we have to add for next year's class because boy, what a class that's going to be next year when we talk about the 2025 group.
And the thing is, he actually did pick up an offer yesterday from Graceland, I think Graceland University, which is a small school in like Kansas, but they offer everybody in Louisiana. But I think he's gonna get offers because the numbers he's putting up. And Division IV Select is not a bunch of small school. Yes, you can say small school football, but there's a lot of great teams, man. Southern Lab, Washington Christian, those two schools are producing D1 athletes. Yeah. Then you have Riverside, who's always has a few guys who are really good.
Everybody knows St. Lawrence Episcopal and what
St. Lawrence, Harlan Berry, of course, and then St. Mary's has some pretty good players. I mean, like there's all. I mean, if you look at some of these teams in this bracket, they got some players now. It's not like some weak competition. They got some pretty good teams, some pretty good competition, some very well respected coaches in the state. So this is no small feat that what Chad Ellis is doing. I mean, he's doing this against Dunham. He's doing it against some of the better teams in the state. Aloysius Catholic. I mean, that's the alma mater of Keon Coleman, who is probably a top 5 receiver in college football right now. So these guys are no slouches. This is some good football. Even though Mappy played at a smaller level, that there's still some really good football down in Division IV Select. But moving on to another game. Now this was a little bit closer and maybe not nearly as high scoring, but I guess it depends on what you call high scoring.
Especially after that one. 77-43.
Right, exactly. Right. Airlines squeaked out a win over Southside 36-35. It took a failed 2-point conversion for Airline to really pull it out.
Sweat that one out.
Yeah, and they're if they lost the game, there goes the big Shreveport schools can't do it again. You already know that was going to come up, especially from down here in South Louisiana. I don't really think that because I've seen, obviously Captain Shreve losing that really kind of kept the stigma going. But Airline, I thought, was one of those scenes where they looked like, okay, they may not beat Russ in the semifinals, but this is a team that's talented enough to go to the Dome and kind of defeat that stigma. And also, I think they're to be the first big public school to go to the state championship since Parkway did it when they had Brandon Harris. I think 2013. So, but Airline, going on the Airline, Ben Taylor was fantastic again, 23-26. 295 yards and 2 touchdowns with the interception. Jarvis Davis had another big-time game, 9 catches for 101 yards. And then he had a touchdown. And then Kenny Darby had a big game, 6 catches, 95 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, James, what do you have to say about Airline? And does this kind of scare you a little bit, considering the fact that Southside is a running team? And they will. And next week they will be playing Mandeville, who's also a running team. So,
that does scare me a little bit. And now it helps to have the state's #1 passing attack in that game. If you're going to play a game like that, it's going to be tough being Airline. But the good news is for other teams is that even though Southside did lose, they did provide a blueprint on how you can beat this Airline team.
Right.
Sometimes the best defense is offense. If you play time of possession, you can get the ball away from Airline and play keep away. And that is exactly what Southside was trying to do. Now, we talk about Nate Shepard and Mandeville. The first round playoff game they won, you mentioned it, Grant, they didn't attempt a pass. They didn't throw a pass.
Yeah.
So if they can establish, that's the key to the game. If Nate Shepard in the running game for Mandeville, they can control the line of scrimmage and run the football and keep Ben Taylor and an offense off the field, that is going to be trouble for the Vikings. So, but that's going to be something to keep an eye on for. I think that matchup really decides the game, in my opinion. So, if I'm Vikings fans, I would be a little nervous for that Mandeville and another Cinderella team, right? I mean, you can say Cinderella team. Mandeville's definitely a good football team, but right now technically they're 20-something seed. So and they've been on the road the first two games. So that is going to be interesting to watch. I'm very intrigued by this game and see what kind of game it's going to be and if it's a shootout, and it has to be a shootout, Airline's going to win this game. There's no way that Mandeville's going to be able to keep up with them. But if if they can, if Mandeville can slow down the game and then control the time of possession, that is their key. That's their formula in order to get another upset win.
Yeah, and that's perfectly said. I think Mandeville has one of the better rush. Now they are kind of technically a Cinderella team. I think they kind of remind me of the Brother Martin team from last year,
Yeah,
where they had a very strong rushing attack. They ended the season 5-5. Mandeville didn't really have the best of the season. I think they were like 5-5, 6-4, something along those lines.
yeah. Tory Lambert had
I'll
that
double
great
check.
run. Yeah,
Right, I'll double check that. But I know Brother Martin was 5-5 last year going to the playoffs, and Tory Lambert went
yeah.
off,
They went
and
off.
they really kind of found the groove during the playoffs. So I think they're kind of similar in that aspect. I think Airline really needs to. They need to score and score consistent fast because that Mandeville team, they got a strong rushing attack. And you know what they're going to do. They're going to have
Mm.
a similar game plan like Southside. Now Southside's more of an option team, of
Right,
course.
right.
But the thing about them is that they have a D1 running back at the helm, and
Hmm.
they have. It's not even just him. They also have a couple another guy or two that can also run the ball
Yeah,
effectively as well. So if here's the airline's going to allow points because of the offense they run, but
sure.
they need to score quickly. They need not only need to score, but they need to score quickly, and then the defense needs to do what it can to get
Defense
the
wins
ball back to the
championships.
offense. Yep.
Defense wins championships. So Airlines defense needs to be called on this week because the offense is going to score its points, but Airlines defense is going to be the key for this game.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna check that. Mandeville is right now. They are 8-4, so they're entering the playoffs. They were 6-4, so I was kind of right. So yeah.
Sure,
So
sure.
this. So I mean, and the thing is, they're in a division. They're in a district that's like a dog eat dog district.
Yeah.
Like everyone seems to like beating each other
Everybody
except for
saw
St.
yeah.
Paul's. Yeah. So, but
Who's
still,
also in right now? Yeah. St. Paul's is
yeah.
also in.
Right, but they also play some pretty tough teams. They also play some tough teams as well. So don't sleep on Mandeville. I mean, Mandeville year in and year out is always going to have a few guys who are extremely talented, and because of those guys, they're able to win ball games. And so it's no shocker that they've. I mean, it's kind of shocking they've gotten this far, but it's how they've done it,
And
how they've won.
Craig Jones has made a lot of deep playoff runs when he was at Lakeshore. So
Yep.
this is a guy who's
Mm-hmm.
obviously familiar with making these deep playoff runs
Yep.
in that area.
Right, of course, of course. Moving on to our next game is Ruston and Westgate. This is another game similar to the Monroe Central game because even though as great as Ruston has been all year with their fantastic defense that's led by the defensive coordinator and Kyle Williams, former
Yeah.
LSU and NFL great, um, and also fantastic coach, and also head coach Jared Ball.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of talent. They're probably one of the a top three most talented team in the state outside of U High and Calvary Baptist.
Yeah.
But they're going against a Westgate team that's very talented in their own right. The only reason why they're a 16 seed is because they lost
Lost their
Jabari
quarterback.
Antoine
Yep.
for quite some time. Yeah, for quite some time. And so really, Westgate when they're fully healthy is like a top 5 seed. So that was a huge. That's a pretty big matchup right there. And Ruston was able to squeak it out. Ruston actually was leading 20-3 at one point.
Yeah.
Josh Brantley on the very first play of the game ran for a 43-yard touchdown, and he finished the game for passing for 4 for 9, had 73 yards on the touchdown, and also had 96 yards rushing, including the touchdown I just mentioned. But then
Yeah.
Westgate made a little bit of comeback. They were able to pull the game by 2 points, but unfortunately they fell short. Ruston survives, and they will move on to the next round where they'll face a Walker team that has appeared. I think if I read this correctly, because it's from the same thing I saw on Twitter, I think this is their first quarterfinals versus 2000.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
No, never. They've
Yeah,
never
I'm about
made
to
the
say,
quarterfinals.
like I was about to say, I'm not sure if they ever made this
Yeah,
far in the playoffs.
yeah.
So Yeah, that's really saying something. And then when we talk about Westgate, I was talking to Jared a little bit at halftime because he was at the Acadiana game as well, and he told me that Jabari, I think he actually started off playing receiver in the game, just I guess just get him comfortable, and then they got down by a lot, and it's like okay, we're going to put you back at quarterback, and I think that's when Westgate started coming back, but ultimately they fell short. So it doesn't matter how pretty it looks because I mean, like you said, and like I said to open the show, like these teams are even. If you look at the seed, you might think, oh, it's 2 versus 18. It should be a blowout. No, it's going to be a dogfight pretty much in the playoffs every
Yeah.
single week. So you got to find a way to win. And right now, Ruston they blew a sigh of relief and they move on to the next round. So that's really big, and that's a really talented Westgate team. And they got their quarterback back, a lot of great athletes. They're big. They're big in the trenches too. So I knew it was going to be that type of score because both those two teams can win games like that. Low scoring 20-17, 17-14. They can win those type of games, and it turned out to be that game like that.
Right. That's that. Like we said, you just don't always look at the seed. Look at the
Yeah.
matchups.
Look at the matchups. Yep.
Always look at the matchups. Always look at the players on both teams. See what the strengths and weaknesses are, and that's how you can tell. Okay, this game could be an upset alert.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Because
Right.
if Westgate didn't have Jabari Antoine coming back, then you'd probably say, okay,
Rustin
yeah,
got this
yeah,
game.
Russ has got this game. But because he was coming back this week, like you had a feeling, okay, this is something you need. This is a game you need to watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
So big victory for Ruston. They will, like I just said earlier, they'll play Walker in the quarterfinals,
Yeah.
and they look poised to make another. Hopefully, win their first state title since I believe it was 1990. That's the last time they won a state
Yeah.
championship.
Yeah. That
It's
was a
been a
great
little,
team.
it's been a little while since it's been a little while for the Bearcats of Ruston High School.
And you
Moving
mentioned
on to
that
our
team real quick, Grant. That 1990 team. A lot of people are saying that's the greatest Louisiana high school football team people have ever seen. So if
wow.
Ruston can win a state championship with this team, I'm sure Ruston fans are going to be comparing. Especially it's been a long drought for them, so
Yeah,
it'll be big for them.
exactly. Right. Moving on to our next game. This is another kind of shocking result. You can even say it's an upset. I guess some people say it's an upset, but it is an upset. But I wasn't really shocked by this result as well.
Hmm.
Alexandria defeated Brother Martin 20-2. Nothing. I know this Brother Martin team really well. Basically like a good portion of my
Right.
family went to Brother Martin. My dad went to Brother Martin.
Mm.
My younger brother Noah went to Brother Martin. Played football for Brother Martin. Won their first Catholic League title, and I think about like 12, 15 years or whatever it was, and where he led them to an undefeated regular season, which I believe was like the first time since 1989 where they had to do that. And then my
Hmm.
youngest brother Jackson was at Brother Martin playing football. But then he transferred to Warren Easton. He was on the team this year because he wanted to take a year off. Also, he knew he was going to be ineligible, so he would play next year for Warren Easton. But basically my whole portion of my family went to Brother Martin. Like my cousin was on the first and only state championship for Brother Martin, so I know this program really well. But I kind of had a feeling that they were going to lose this game because their quarterback play really hasn't been that strong this year. Matter of fact, hasn't been strong the last 2 years. So they really have to rely on the running game
Yeah.
and the running backs and the offensive line. So the running game as a whole, because they don't have the quarterbacks and the receivers to really move the ball efficiently down the field. And then when you're going against a team like Alexandria, who just has lanky DBs, and
Yeah.
the guys are literally just as fast or faster than you are, and their defensive line, their O-line and D-line are just as fresh as you are. That's just a bad matchup. And
Yeah.
also, Alexandria has some great players as well. JT Lindsay.
Running back.
Yeah. So this game was actually relatively close. It was
Hmm.
3-0 at halftime. But then in the second half, Alexandria made some adjustments, and Ash did what they did do best. They're just physical. They can run the ball, and they can also throw the ball over the top. Ty Fisher really started going off. He finished the game going 11 for 14, 187 yards and a touchdown. And
Bishop.
he had 14 rushes and 94 yards. And so Alexandria's first touchdown in the game was a 32-yard touchdown from Feaster to Darius Washington. And then the very next drive, he had a 62-yard run that set up a JT Lindsay touchdown. And JT Lindsay ended up finishing with 30 rushes for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it's also the first time in 7 years that Brother Martin left the playoffs without a single win. So, Jason, what do you have to say about this game? Did this game shock you?
It shocked me the fact that Brother Martin was shut out. I wasn't really expecting that. But Alexander, Coach Bob is doing a great job over there. You mentioned JT Lindsay. He's a guy that's been really flown under the radar as far as his name really not getting mentioned a lot. But it's a guy that we followed a long time, and it seems like he's been making plays in this offense for a long time. Marion Mingo is a great player, whether he's a wide receiver or DB. Darius Washington too. They got some really good skill guys. What won them the game was, like you mentioned, Brother Martin's going to rely on the run game. They had a great running back last year in Torrey Lambert, and they relied on the run game there. They're going to get the ball to Jordan West, and Alexander shut him down. I believe he only ran for 57 yards rushing in the game on 11 carries. So kudos to Ash's defense up front too, for able to slow him down and not let him go off as well.
Right, like I said, this is a Brother Martin program I know pretty well through my entire life, including recently, because I just had 2 brothers who played for them.
Sure.
But like that's the thing is like I knew that going into this game, it's just a bad matchup. When I saw that these 2 teams were going to play each other in the second round, I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's gonna be tough. Just because it's stylistically that's just a bad matchup for Brother Martin. And really, Brother Martin moving forward, they really need to figure out the quarterback position because ever since Bama had, they really haven't figured out their passing game. And that's something
Right.
they really, really need to figure out. They want to make these deep runs because they're going to have the offensive line, they're going to have the running backs, and they're always going to have the defense. So I think moving forward, if Brother Martin wants to make another safe title run, they really need to fix that offense and quickly because guess what? Next year, you're going to have not only is Carr stay in the Catholic League because at one point they were originally supposed to leave, but then not only are they staying, Easton's joining the league as well. So it's going to be like that for the next few years up until Shaw and possibly St. Charles Catholic may join the Catholic. Because they're both those teams, both the schools plan on joining the Catholic League, but they, obviously got the robots in the crease, and they also want to make sure that they're ready to compete at that level.
Yeah, they're not going to be average Joes coming in. I mean, no matter who's coming in, who's coming out, that Catholic League, it's going to be good. So no matter who's coming in or out.
And Holy Cross has really emerged too.
On the rise. Yep.
They're on the rise, and even though they may be losing Cole Canatella and Cross Johnson and Kobe Young, they still have some fantastic players at the running. Like for example, just like Karine Smith and their tight end Derek Johnson, and also they're returning Finn Barton. Yep. And also returning Finn Barnes, also a pretty good receiver as well, like another speedster on that team. So that's another team you need to watch out for. But moving on to our last game, we have I think that was another big time game in New Orleans, and really you don't really see a team like Evangel coming to New Orleans, so it was kind of spoiled a little bit. But Evangel Christian versus Shaw, 2 of the most historic programs in the state. Shaw, last year they returned Hank Tierney. And they've been a completely different program. They're really showing that they can win at a high level. And they look even poised to even make a run for a state title if things work out for them. And then you also have Evangel Christian, who they're very talented. Of course, Gabe Relaford on the defensive side of the ball. You have a young emerging guy in Damari Drake who plays both sides, but I think he'll be a linebacker when it comes in terms of college. Mm-hmm. And they also have a fantastic offense with the Fulgham twins, Parker and Peyton. Sure. Well, Peyton's the quarterback and Parker's receiver. Mm-hmm. And then also Tyreek Robinson, who's also a very another speedster, another sleeper in the state in terms of receiver spot. He's a D1 receiver for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But early on, it looked like Evangel's going to pull away, 13-3. But then all of a sudden, after Evangel scored their last touchdown, Jaden Scott, who's their big-time defensive end, takes off his helmet, starts yelling at his team. And it was quiet at the time. You could probably hear a pin drop, and he's yelling at his team, blah, blah, blah. And after he's done, the crowd just stood up and started clapping. And then all of a sudden it looked like they're alive again. I was like, uh-oh, something's about to happen. Shaw scored 17 unanswered points. 17 unanswered points. A big reason for that was Mason Wilson. He was 4 for 7, 131 yards and a touchdown. And he also had 22 carries, 200 yards, and another touchdown. And the game-winning touchdown actually was scored on the second play of the second half, which was to Caleb Williams for 85 yards. And Caleb Williams ended up finishing with 2 receptions for 102 yards and a touchdown. And Henry Zalea was 2 for 4 on the night and had 3 tackles on kickoff. Another big time game. But the story of that was not the offense; it was the defense. The defense did not allow Evangel to score a single point in the second half. Peyton Fulgham, despite his big time touchdown to Parker to start the game, which was like a 60-yarder, he was 11 for 25, 130 yards, a touchdown interception. Parker Fulgham had 5 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Jacob Wilson on the defensive end of the side of the ball, 7 tackles for 4 tackles for a loss. But another big-time player, a guy who's been on our Player of the Week show before, in terms of he was a top 10 nominee, was Dallas Bourne. He actually had an interception that set up the first points for Shaw, and then also recovered a fumble that was caused by Rontre Carter. Rontre Carter, that was a big-time fumble because it looked like Evangel was about to go down the field and score again on a big run, but then he made a huge stop. So, Jace, what do you have to say about this game? And does this result kind of shock you? And how do you see – and what do you take away from this game in terms of the futures for both programs, not just Shaw, but Evangel as well? Because they were a team that was considered to be a state title contender, but they had 4 losses entering the entering the playoffs, and they finished with 5 losses for the 4th season in a row. Well, the 5th season, the 5th season, they've had 5 losses. Which is crazy to think about Evangel.
Yeah, I know it is crazy. A couple years ago, when the Fulghams were really freshmen, it wasn't obviously the same old Evangel we've seen prior to that, right? They had a couple 0-10 seasons. It was really tough for them. So it's good now. It's not with the level we've seen national championships and state championships and all this success, but it's good to see them back in a competitive level and for them to go to the second round, win some playoff games, see the Fulgham twins really help them get back to a competitive level. That was really good to see and really credit to them for what they're able to do. And obviously, with guys like Gabriel Rutherford too, kind of leading the way. But as far as the result you asked about, did it surprise me? I wasn't surprised Shaw won the game. I was maybe a little bit surprised that Evangel only put up 13 points. I thought Evangel would put up maybe some more points in that game, but I'm not shocked that Shaw won the game. And what Coach Tierney's doing, it's been great. I just looked at your article too, and read some of the quotes from Coach Tierney as well. I mean, West Bank being West Bank tough and saying it's not the water we drink, but the tradition at Shaw is to be tough and physical. And back from the great Shaw teams he's had in the 80s and 90s, is great to kind of reestablish that and have him back there and reestablish that program. And you mentioned Player of the Week, Dallas Bourne. He was a guy that was a Player of the Week mentioned, and then also Mason Wilson, the quarterback too. So Jaden Scott, I know he was a one-time Tulane commit. They got some really good talent at Shaw. So this did not really shock me, and really Shaw's been able to win games all kinds of different ways this year. We've seen him play, a physical, grinded out, tough game that's lower in the lower scoring in. And they're also able to show you that, hey, we can make it a shootout if we need to and score win 57-50 against Karen Crow. So those are the type of teams, and you always got when you got a Hall of Fame coach like Coach Tierney leading the way. This is a team that, like Central, right? A balanced team. Those are the teams that you got to look at. The teams that can beat you in any kind of different way. They can win pretty. They can win ugly. Win on defense. Win on special teams. It doesn't matter. They find a way to win, and that's why a team like Shaw's very dangerous when it comes to the playoff bracket.
Yeah, and believe it or not, this is actually the first time they've made back-to-back quarterfinals appearances in over 15 years. Yeah. And when I actually mentioned that to Coach Tierney, when I interviewed him after the game, a little bit. He actually, he thought we were talking he's like, oh no, we went to the dump 2 years ago. It's like, Coach, that was Tapachadilla. He's like, oh, we've been to the dump 5 times. I'm like, I was like, oh, I don't think he actually believes that he has the Shaw, the program itself hasn't been to back-to-back quarterfinals appearances over 15 years. And I think That's the most shocking thing, because that's how good Shaw really was. And during that time, the last time they went to back-to-back quarterfinals, that was during the stretch when they went to 3 straight state title
Yeah, you
games
gotta go
under
back
Scott Barnsfather.
mid 2000s was the
Right,
last
mid
time
2000s,
that
yeah,
that Shaw
yeah,
was relevant.
right. And
So
remember, the first time around, Tierney was fired because due to LHSAA investigations, and
mhm.
really a lot of people thought that they should have never fired him.
Yeah.
And then because Scott Barnsfather took over, they still have that continued success, including the 3 straight title appearances. Um, but then after 2008, they were 47-90 and only had one winning season
Yeah,
during that
it was
stretch.
tough times.
And then they brought in a new administration. They're like, okay, we need to raise our enrollment, but what we need to do is bring back Hank Tierney. And
Yeah.
Hank retired after the 2021 season after he led Ponchatoula to a state title appearance, his first since 1940. And they asked me, hey, you want to come back? And of course, Coach thought about it really hard, but he's like, yeah, I'm going to come back and take it, because he loved that job. And you're seeing it now. He has a lot of passion towards that program. So the future's really bright for Shaw. And he may join the Catholic, who knows? I don't know. But it looks like Shaw's here to stay in terms of relevancy, because they kind of fallen on relevancy the past 10 to 15 years. But anyway, guys, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah, we got about
Grant
a minute
Chachere,
left.
Grant Chachere, Jace LeJeune. This is Protect the Boot. We will not be at any games this weekend. We're going to both be out of town,
Oh, out
but
of
we're
town.
still going to cover the games from far away. We're still going to upload some articles here and there.
Sure.
So just watch out for that on the website. So anyway, see you guys next weekend. Peace.